Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? This is Colin back at it again with another video. First video in a long little bit of time here. Today I'm going to be doing a movie review. This is something I'm going to be dabbling with a little bit. Movies have definitely been something I've been more passionate about this year, seen a lot of movies, and I figured I had quite a few stinkers I could talk about, this being one of them. I do want to preface this by saying that there will be spoilers. So if you want to watch this movie, I would encourage you to come back to this video after you see it. Or if you have no interest, go right ahead, be my guest. With that being said, I will be talking about The Nun 2, the latest entry in the Conjuring universe, which is about as overplayed as the Marvel universe is now. It's certainly becoming some big, overproduced, just shit show, and I am one to believe that horror movies really don't need a cinematic universe. It's so commercialized and just poorly done. Definitely lost the vision of the first Conjuring, which is one of the best horror movies made in recent memory. I believe that came out in 2013, and that is an exceptional movie. So if you want to watch a good horror movie in this universe, go watch The Conjuring. It's probably one of the only good ones in this series. If you ask me personally, I'm not a big fan of the subsequent films. So with that being said, this movie, The Nun 2, sequel to the first Nun. This one is directed by Michael Chavez and produced by Peter Safran and James Wan. James Wan has been a prolific figure in this series. And a lot of the movies that he was involved with back the Conjuring 2, some of the Annabelle movies were actually pretty solid. Like I said, The Conjuring is the only one that I think is really good, but the things that he was involved with tended to be a little better than a lot of the other kind of regurgitated jump scare movies that are so common nowadays. But he certainly has lost his form, I would say, and I just don't think that they were. It feels like a cash grab to me personally. I would say The Nun, the original one, is a superior movie to this one. For a couple different reasons, which I'll talk about. And I do want to say one more time, if you don't want to be spoiled or don't want to have this movie spoiled for you, I would click away now because we're about to dive into the plot. So this movie is the return of Valak, the nun demon that was introduced in The Conjuring 2 and was the main antagonist of that movie, as well as this little spin-off series that they've been doing here. But rather than taking place in a nunnery, monastery, convent thing, this one takes place at a girls' boarding school in France. Why? Well, because it used to be a monastery, and that is a big plot point later on in the film. But I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But this is a typical jump scare kind of. It's just relies on jump scares. There's no tension. The plot is very lackluster and forgettable. Poorly written, I would just say, across the board. There are a couple cool scenes, but in general, the plot itself is pretty poorly written. It is a well-produced movie. I will say the lighting and the shots were good. The audio was good. But there was too much reliance on these jump scares and just a complete lack of tension building that was palpable. I mean, like, we were sitting there. I watched this movie on a vacation with my girlfriend, and we were just kind of sitting there laughing at a lot of the parts in this movie because it's just it does nothing that I associate with like a good horror movie. No tension, no likability to the characters even, which was something I will say the first Nun I felt did quite a bit better. For example, we have the character Frenchie, who makes his return in this movie. Frenchie in the first Nun was like a very likable, personable kind of character, had a good personality to him, and in this movie he's kind of just this like ladies man, but he's in a girls school, and he has like this romantic interest with one of the teachers, and he's like befriended her daughter, and it's just kind of like, why is this grown man like acting kind of like, I don't know, I'm not gonna say he's like acting weird with this girl, but like It's just kind of strange to me. And then, he's also possessed by Valak. He's like the host vessel. So, that is also something that is kind of going on in the background of this movie. So, we have Frenchie being really personable and cool with, these girls and stuff. And then, like, they'll go away and he'll start acting weird and clawing at the ground. And, it's just kind of weird. Like, I feel like if you're possessed, the demon is going to want to like drive you away from everybody else. So like, why is it letting him be so friendly with these girls and stuff? Doesn't make sense to me. Another big thing I really noticed about this movie that was a big departure from the first one was Taissa Farmiga's character, Sister Irene. She just kind of sucks in this movie. Like, Taissa Farmiga is a good actress, but her character in this movie just sucks. Like, the first movie, she had like this big character arc where, she was becoming a nun, but she wasn't ready to take her vows and everything, and she like became stronger in her faith as that movie went on, and this thing started happening. By the end of it, she's like ready to become a nun, and she does. This movie, she just doesn't have a character arc. Like, she just kind of shows up and she's like investigating, this girls' school. Like, the bishop or whatever in the area she's in is like, yeah, it looks like the demon's still around, so you got to go check it out. And she's like, okay. So they go and, check it out and investigate, and there's like this cool, there are a couple cool scenes in this movie, one of which is when she's investigating, and it was in the trailer. She like goes up to this board that has a bunch of magazines on it, and they flip, and the wind starts blowing, they start flipping, and then it like makes the outline of the nun demon with the images in the magazines, and then she like reaches out of the magazines and like chokes her or whatever. That was a pretty cool scene. But despite all this, like, Taissa Farmiga is just kind of, I don't know, she's kind of redundant. Like, I feel like you could have replaced her with any other nun and the movie would have been the same, whereas in the first one, like, she had this cool character arc and like we kind of rooting for her. In this one, like, you really don't give a shit about her because she doesn't do anything. That was a big thing I noticed that I felt was very poor about this movie. You're taking your main protagonist character from the first one and making them suck. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what they were thinking about that. But, yeah, with that being said, there were a couple cool scenes, like the aforementioned magazine one. The introduction scene to the movie is cool, but it also makes no sense because, like, pretty much what happens is this priest is like, he gets like levitated up in the air and he catches on fire and burns to death by the demon, like, who is out of sight, by the way, but she like levitates him up in the air and he catches on fire and dies and is like burned to death, right? But then this power that this demon has to do this is just never shown again. Like, it never does anything like that again. It's never like utilized. Like, if you're that powerful, why are you not doing that to everybody in this movie? And that's plot armor. So, you can't kill all your main characters, but like, why would you make the demon that powerful and make it do something cool and then just never return to it? But the big laughable part of this movie, and this is probably the funniest thing about this movie in my opinion, is the return of the whole relic concept. And while I will say this one is not as ridiculous as the relic from the first movie, which we will talk about, but it's just so stupid. Like, it makes no sense. And pretty much so, in the first movie, the relic that they use to defeat the demon is the blood of Jesus Christ, which is stored in this monastery place. And it's just like, what? Why is there's like some backstory about how like the Crusaders like found the blood of Christ or something and they put in this church, right? Well, in this movie, the relic are these gouged out eyes that belong to this Saint Lucy person, and they're just in a box in the chapel that is closed off in the boarding school. There's like a boarded up chapel, and the eyes are just in there in a box. And the eyes are like, the demon is after the eyes because it grants it some sort of insane power, and then like the demon gets the eyes and it does not get any insane power. And then you have this part where Sister Irene like finds out that she's like a descendant of this nun or this saint character that the eyes belong to. And then, she like thinks about her mom, and then all of a sudden she like defeats the demon, and they like say the communion prayer, and they're in like this winery that is under the boarding school, and there's a bunch of wine there, and they like pray and do the communion prayer, and then all the wine turns into the blood of Christ and sprays all over the demon, and they defeat the demon. And it's just like, it makes no sense. It's ridiculous. Moral of the story, the movie is poorly written, the acting is mediocre at best, the script sucks. And I just feel like this is a very poorly made movie. Cash grab movie, certainly. Definitely, they were like, what can we do to make the most cliche movie that will draw in big crowds of people and make us a fat chunk of change? That's what they did, and that's pretty much what happened. I would not recommend this movie. Maybe if you just want something to watch to kill time, like you're in it just for something that you can sit down and watch, maybe. But if you're going into this with the expectation that you're going to be getting a good experience, this is not the way to go. Overall, I would rate this movie like a 3 out of 10, and only it gets a 3 because there were some cool scenes and the movie is well produced. But other than that, I would not recommend watching this movie. So with that being said, that pretty much concludes this review. If you have any movie recommendations that you would like me to check out, throw them in the description. I'd be more than happy to. Like I said, I think I said at the beginning, I do have a list of some movies that I would like to also talk about and we'll be reviewing at some point. So I'll add them to the list and we can kind of try this whole review thing out. But this movie was very poor, so it was one I almost had to talk about. Like, it was just, I would not recommend anybody go watch it. But yeah, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.